What is that from? Is
I
that
think it's 4 score, not 10 score.
Wait, what am I thinking of?
Oh, the Abraham Lincoln's like
Oh yeah.
whatever it is.
Okay.
It's like isn't that the
The
Gettysburg
Address?
Yeah. What is happening? Address.
I'm on my 3rd glass of wine, okay?
I've never heard you speak like that before. What's your address? Oh wait, well that would make sense.
Address.
Address. Gettysburg Address. No. Address? I guess it's different how you whatever. Anyway.
I'm sweating.
Welcome.
Happy Wednesday when you're listening to this, but
No, it's
Thursday when
Thursday.
we're recording.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be the last episode of November.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This year is just flying.
I was I was at work writing newsletters and calendars for next month, writing December 2022. And I was like, what?
I know.
That's crazy.
It's so wild.
And like in the 2022-2023 school year. It's so weird.
Yeah. I just bought this planner that I'm using.
That's very cute.
Thanks. It's very thick, but the calendar in here is
It has like a notes/calendar thing.
Yeah. But I was like, wow, this half of the page is almost done. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. How was your week?
Oh, it's still going.
You're going home soon?
I am. I'm so excited to be going home. It was honestly, I feel like my personal change happens when I'm thrown into shit. So like even in the moment, I'm stressed and have a lot of anxiety because work is stressful and like crazy things are happening or just life is crazy. But I also know that it just means like I'm learning something or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the positive outlook I'm trying to have on it. It means good things are on its way.
Yeah.
But I do believe that. It's just hard to see it in the moment. But it's also like, I feel like everybody's going through that right now. This time of year is so hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's entering in really, that's why like I'm so glad we took the time last episode to kind of talk about like, I know we're around like friendship, but just like being grateful. Because it's hard sometimes to be grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually saw someone's Instagram story today. It was talking about, it shared another podcast and I didn't listen to it, but I saw the prompt. Anyway, it was talking about just like the holiday season tends to be a time of like a lot of comparison. Whether it's like when you're a kid and you're comparing like toys, or you're an adult and you're comparing like what it used to be like when you were a kid, or comparing people in their 20s who are getting engaged and you're not doing that, or vice versa. It's just like a lot of comparison, and that, like we talked about, is the thief of joy. So trying to remember to like be happy for other people and like be present and not be thinking about all the things that like you wish or you want or you shoulda, coulda, woulda. So
I also, that's like what I tell you about New Year's resolutions. Like I hate that idea. I just don't like it. But
we'll get into that.
We'll get into it. But I just think like, yeah, just centering yourself in like hard times is just so hard to begin with. And then adding this like extra pressure. Plus I feel like a lot of people, like you said, just with like childhoods, like a lot of things sometimes happen around Christmas time for families, and it just doesn't bring out the best memories, as we will also talk about. Yeah. But I think like, as far as my week, I feel like I'm learning a lot. That's good. I'm very exhausted. I'm really looking forward to being home though. I feel like very homesick, which is weird. I guess it just happens.
You really haven't been home in a while.
I know. I was like gone for like years, and then I came home and just stayed home. Yeah. Literally lived with family until here.
I feel like too, like I saw McKenna earlier. I saw Julia, my sisters earlier this year, and you haven't seen your sisters in a while.
Yeah, very true.
That'll be good to see everyone and hang out in the cold.
I know it's gonna be freezing. Just wait. You're gonna get yours in December. Well, you did kind of have yours. Yeah, let's talk about your week and weekend.
Yeah, I was in Boise for Friendsgiving, which was really fun. It was very cold. I was talking to Ellie about this though, like Ellie being you.
I was like, is there another one?
That I sleep so good when it's like frigid outside and you're in a warm bed. Oh, it's like the best sleep of my life.
Like, oh, it's just so you can't even. And the like fuzzy, like fleece blankets.
So I got some really good sleep. Saw my friends that I hadn't seen in like 6 years. I hadn't been back there since I graduated college, which was almost 6 years ago.
That's crazy.
It's so weird. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then came back, and I feel like this week's been good. Went to book club last night, which I'm excited for you to come to in the future. I just think it's so cute that we're doing a book club.
I love that. When you said that's what you were doing, I was like, oh my gosh, yay.
The book for the month is Dark Matter, I think is what it's called. So we'll report back in a month what we think. And then yeah, surfing tomorrow will be really fun. I'm excited. I think a group of us are going to go up to Julian on Saturday when you're gone, but it's like the mountains near San Diego. So that'll be good. Yeah, some fall activities. It was nice to be in Boise because it actually felt like this holiday season. Like I feel like growing up with seasons, if I don't experience seasonal change, it just doesn't feel like that time of year to me.
I think that's what I need. Like some sort of like seeing the seasons, I guess. I don't really know, but
yeah, no, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, what we wanted to do for this episode, sorry, unless you were still wanting to talk about our week.
I still would like to talk about my life. No, I want to get into it. I'm excited. I feel like this is what I need right now.
Yeah. I actually had a lot of fun doing this, but also was like, wow, a lot happened this year. But since we're releasing this the day before the last day of the month, we wanted to do like a little peaks and valleys recap, which the peaks and valleys comes from our friend Kirsten. We were watching the Padres game. How did this even start?
Honestly, the night is a blur, but we somehow made our way into a conference room
in an office building,
in a very expensive office building, and like started like playing around with all of like the gadgets and gizmos, and they're sitting on like the nice chairs and couches, and then we were just talking about like I think it started because we were like kind of tipsy, so we were trying to gauge like how we were feeling about the night, and she was like, I have a video of it, I'm pretty sure. And she was like, where are you if you were like, if tonight was a mountain, where are you at? Like, are you still low? Have you reached your peak? Are you still like in the valley? And then it just kind of like spiraled into like, well, where are you this year? Where have you been the last 5 years? And we were just like talking about where you are on a mountain. It was just a really good visual of like valley being your low, obviously, and then just like climbing to your peak and then coming back down, because I feel like you experience so much of that in your life.
So many highs and lows.
The drunk conversation would just like, I don't know, was really visual and helpful. It was very beautiful. It was a beautiful moment.
So we're trying to encapsulate that into our whole year recap, and wanted to do peaks and valleys month by month, and obviously not going to go into a ton of detail because there's a lot that happened this year. And I don't want to bore people, but I think there's also a lot of like really great things, a lot of lessons learned. So we'll lead with the valley. You know, you're in the valley, then you're going to climb to the peak, then you're going to go back down into the valley for the next month. Okay. January 2022. Do you want me to start?
Yes.
Okay. My valley of January, and I think this is also probably what we'll talk about in if we do like a resolution episode, but I feel like my valley was trying to change or fix way too many things in my life and about myself at one time. I was looking back at pictures from January, and a lot of them are like body pictures, like pictures of your like body,
like,
you know,
what are they,
why can't I think of the word?
I can't think of the word either.
Before and after, but they were all before photos.
Why is that always the case? That's all I have. I'm like, nothing's happening.
I literally, if I go back in my camera roll, it's like a year ago, before photos. Never took any after. Another year goes by, before photos. It's just like, okay, maybe try and like just focus on one thing. But I think the body dysmorphia was rampant because I was just like, new year, gotta change so many things about myself, gotta fix all these things. And yeah, I feel like that can kind of be the case a lot of Januaries for me. I like the idea of resolutions, but I think what I'm coming to learn is I like it more of like reflection, like just having that like dedicated time of like, here are some things that I think went really well. Here are some things that I think I would like to like work on for the next year. But what I tend to do then is like, now I need to do it all this month.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So
I agree. It's a lot. I don't like them for a lot of reasons, but that's like a main one. And that's really hard. But yeah, it's really hard to, I feel like a lot of people feel that same way about January. That seems to be like a very common valley for quite a few people. You really just love hitting that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move it over here.
Okay, well, what's your peak?
Well, what's your valley? I don't want.
I feel like I do because I feel like my valley and my peak go hand in hand.
Okay. My peak from January, from the beginning of this year, was actually the first day of the year. I was in Disneyland with my mom and my siblings. And we literally rang in the new year in Disneyland.
Oh my
and I
gosh,
forgot
love
about that until I
that.
looked at photos. And I'm like, this is why I love doing this. Because that was just such a good memory. And we hadn't, okay. I will go on a tangent about Disney adults. But I love Disneyland because I feel like it's the happiest place on earth, as they say. But I liked doing it with my siblings because they're older now. And I feel like we like could joke around and have fun, and we were all kind of on the same page.
Wait, are you a Disney adult?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying I love Disneyland, but I'm not a Disney adult.
Okay, I thought that's where you were leading to. And I was
No.
like, oh, wait a minute. We're going to have to just pause this whole thing.
Actually, I'm moving out tomorrow.
Yeah,
so.
actually, it's nice knowing you. No, that's so,
Not a
I
Disney
love
adult.
that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Or literally, Disney was having a party, honestly. They had like different DJ setups all over the park, and they had parades going and fireworks at midnight, and it was a lot of fun.
Damn, I want to do that.
I know, maybe we should do that.
I know, seriously. I'm like, you're really selling it for me.
Yeah. So, but my tangent on Disney adults. I think it's because I just don't understand.
Me either.
People that like get like full character tattoo sleeves and like always are repping the merch and go there every weekend, or if they're like live in LA or something. I just like, to me, it's not fun then anymore. Like Disney has magic, but sparingly.
Spoken as a true adult.
What is your take on Disney adults?
My take is like, yeah, they go so, some of them go, it's like on a spectrum. Some of them are fine because it's like not a lot, and it's something I can relate to, where like I love Disney movies.
Yeah.
And I probably know a lot of all the songs, and it's fun to go. But like sometimes the hype is too much, and it being like this whole like gotta get the passes every year and like gotta stay at the hotels and know all the secret things. And like that's okay, but it's fine like if you do that in your own like group. But when I say, what irritates me is like when I openly say like, oh, I'm going to Disneyland, or we're thinking about going, and they're like, oh, you got to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, ew, shut up. Like, no one gives a fuck, dude. Like, do something better with your life.
You reminded me, okay, I'm going to plug another TikTok and I hate myself for it, but my brother, CJ, always sends in our like sibling group chat these like TikToks where they make fun of Disney adults, and it's like, if you clap 3 times at this secret cove, then Mickey appears, or like some stupid thing, and they make me laugh so hard because it's like people spend so much time actually like
figuring that
out
stuff.
these little secrets.
And I just don't have time
I don't
to do that.
either. But it's like, also, I'm kind of like, you're in your own world. And I guess Disney's a nice world to live in.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like every once in a while when I get an opportunity to go, I enjoy myself and it's
Yeah.
fun. But I'm not like, it's not on my calendar of like things I need to plan.
You have to do it this year
Yeah.
type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
That
about
won't
your
be in my resolution thing. Anyway, okay, so January for me, I pulled out my journal from January or from that time, and it's very sad. But it's just like, I don't know, I find myself journaling when I'm going through hard stuff, so that's just what it ends up being.
Good
But
therapy.
it had brought up something about my work, which at the time was at a before and after school care like site, and I was kind of the like lead in that site, and it had brought up like just going through hard times because of the COVID exposures.
Mm,
So like during that time, like I think my valley was just like I felt so low because I was in a position that was so like difficult and was bringing so many new challenges, like
hmm
not only dealing with COVID exposures, but dealing like with kids that have COVID exposures, and then dealing with like parents telling them that their kid has COVID and that they can't like come and we can't provide. It was just like a lot of growth, but at the
hmm
time we're just like just seemed like a brick wall after brick wall. But that leads into my peak because I also feel like I also remember being in that moment, and like it was I felt like a big girl. Like I was coming in, I felt
hmm
like I was like dealing with all of these problems, but at the same time like still staying afloat.
Yeah.
And maybe not in the moment, but looking back, like I'm proud of myself for that, because even though I went home and may felt like crazy and that I'm not dealing with my stuff, I truly believe that like on the outside and like to the parents and like the kids and all of that stuff, like I stayed myself, like
hmm
goofy and silly and whatever. And that's what I'm like, oh shit, like way to go. Like I feel like looking back, I can see that as a peak. So I think they go hand in hand. So that's why I was like, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I feel like it's hard to realize the impact that you're making on the kids, but even like the stories that you tell me now of like the things kids say, it's like clearly they already care about you,
Hmm.
even though you've only been at this job for like to joke around with you like that and to feel comfortable to like be themselves.
Today it was truth or dare. And I said truth thinking it was safe. And it was, what did I say? Is it true you're still single? And I was just like, still? Bitches? No, I didn't say that. But I was like, what the heck? Get out of here. Rude.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're just a good role model. And you
It's like
are.
still single. I was like, I literally was just like, I'm going to walk away from you now. And all the other staff and all the kids are laughing because like staff are laughing, but the kids don't know. They're like, ah, and I'm like, you don't even know what you're laughing at. You don't even know me. No, I thought that was so funny.
That's
But yeah,
great. February, next month.
yeah.
Okay. My value's kind of depressing. And it was Russia started attacking Ukraine. And the reason that was such a valley in my life is because I actually knew a lot of people in the Ukraine. I still know them. But like that conflict that is still happening,
Mm-hmm.
like to be working with someone who like the day before you're like talking about some landing page you need built, and then the next day they're literally like in an underground shelter trying to get to the border in time. It was just insane to me. And to feel
Crazy.
so helpless and to feel like it's just so much bigger than you, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like as much as I want to be able to like have world peace, obviously, that's just like there's so many layers to that conflict and why it happened, and Putin's insane and all of these crazy things. And that was kind of like every day in the back of my mind, especially in February, because that's when it started. That was kind of a valley. And I don't want to say like for me, but just to be like to feel so helpless in that situation.
That's, I want to say a good one, but I mean like it's very deep,
Mm-hmm.
very like I didn't know that, especially you. Not that it matters like whether or not you know someone or not,
Mm-hmm.
that it is something that you think about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm very blessed to live in the United States, even though we have a lot of work to do too. But then the peak was there was actually a few things. I think the number one though was the Portland birthday trip.
Me too.
That was the catalyst for basically us being here today.
Mm-hmm.
Like
For
if that trip didn't happen, I don't know if like you would have come for Memorial Day, like that,
or the podcast would be happening. That's kind of where when we started talking about it.
Yeah, you're someone that I just feel like I can be my full self with and 100% comfortable, and like it was so fun to feel free like that again. I was like always on for everyone else, and then with you, I'm just like, yeah, let's go get a tattoo.
I know that even though Portland during that time is not the best side of Portland because it's cold. It's not like you kind of have a lull in the rain, but because it's so cold, it's not like super like none of the flowers. Like we went to go to the park where the rose. What is that? I think it's like I don't even know what it's
Rose
called.
Garden?
Yeah. Or whatever that part was.
It
And it was
literally a
bare.
stick
There was
garden?
nothing. It was like if I had taken a branch and stuck it in the ground. That's what it looked like. I was like, well, you want to read? But yeah, it was so nice. That's definitely my peak. I was trying to think of a valley for this month, and honestly, I don't know. It's my birthday month, so I try to just push everything out.
Everything is great.
So everything is great. Yeah, it was
That's
just
good. I'm glad that was like. I don't think we need to have valleys. I tried to like. I was like, what was really bad about this month?
I think it's just like I'm sure there were, but I think it's probably just kind of the same thing that happened, like an overall feeling of just like that kind of stress at work. It doesn't really like go away.
Yeah.
Or just things that are happening in life, you know? But it's funny though, I tried to look back at some like old pictures and it just like scrolls and it's like nothing but Portland. And then I click like the next picture and it's like the end of March. And I'm like, well, something was going on and I've erased it from my memory.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness for photos, honestly. Because I'm not the best at journaling. I tried to, but I feel like I'm similar to you in that I journal when I'm like so stressed or I just like need to get thoughts out. It's usually not like this week I did blah blah blah.
Yeah. Moving on to March.
Okay. I was in Europe at this time, and my valley.
Interesting. Like it.
There's so
it's mixing it with other things.
I know. When I was in Amsterdam, I was like really sick. Like I couldn't really do anything, which was kind of a bummer because I feel like Amsterdam, everyone talks about Amsterdam and like partying in Amsterdam and the red light district and all the fun things that you can do. And I just feel like we like walked around a bit and like went to a coffee shop or whatever, but I was just like miserable. So that was a bummer since I couldn't really experience it. And at the same time, it was like the peak of my valley in terms of work stuff going on. There's like big announcements happening. I'm on the other side of the world trying to like work with different time zones and still like enjoy traveling. So there was just a lot happening there. But there were a lot of peaks in March too. Good peaks. Saw Hamilton, which I
Sorry. I'll try to care later.
We saw Wicked for my birthday a long time ago.
I know, and I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did.
Am I a Broadway adult? No. I'm not a Disney adult. I'm not a Broadway adult.
No, like barely surviving is just like a plain adult. I don't need to add any other weird shit onto it.
Yeah, but I love a good musical. I will say Hairspray is probably my favorite.
Who?
Hairspray, the musical. It's a good one.
I don't
you should
do
watch
musicals.
That. Okay.
My musicals are loud. Yeah. Sorry. Like the most musically musical I go into is just like a Disney movie. How big was your glass of wine, dude? I was just looking at it right now. It looked like water.
Don't look at it. I finished the whole bottle.
It's okay. This is not
there was
tea.
a little bit left, and I was like, just do the whole thing.
I would do the same thing.
Anyway, we don't need to spend too much time on Hamilton. I saw it on like video first, like on Disney Plus or whatever, and I was like, but then seeing it live was really cool. And I saw Peach Pit. They're a band for McKenna's birthday, which was fun. I feel like there's a lot of like art and stuff. And then Paris. I went to Paris in March, and I growing up had like black and white pictures of like the Eiffel Tower and like
I remember those.
Paris in my room because I thought that I was going to be a fashion designer. I mean, literally, look at me right now.
Look at me. I was like, what? Anyway.
I think I have an artistic eye sometimes, but anyway, I loved Paris, and part of me would thought that I would hate it because I don't want to group everyone, but a lot of people that I've met from France are kind of, I felt rude. I think it's just cultural differences. I think I couldn't understand what they were saying, my interpretation of them. But being there, I was like, there's just so much art and history. And I literally spent the whole day at the Louvre, I think is what it's called. And just like the outfits that people had on, I really liked it. We should go. Paris. Podcast in Paris.
That would be awesome. What a great name. Nice job. Podcast in Paris. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
How was your March?
My March was a lot. I think the Valley for me is like, it was like you were saying, like the peak of the valley. What would that even be? The trench? I'm just like thinking of an ocean.
Digging under the valley.
Yeah, I don't
trench.
even know.
I like that.
What it was like the trench of family drama. And I think that kind of really threw me off because I'm very close with my family. And I don't like when there's like, I mean, there's always shit going on. What am I talking about? But it was just like hard to be dealing with stuff when family's been so helpful. And so like finding that placement is really difficult while also still maintaining like my own self-respect.
Yeah, that's hard.
Which is how I'm going to word that. But it's just like, it's always hard. And so that was definitely a valley to deal with that. And also like I'm not alone in that. Everybody else is feeling some type of way. And so watching like family members deal with it in their own way and like deal with that same kind of like hurt and awkwardness and pain is hard to watch too. And there's like, you know, especially when we're all so close and it's a big family, everybody gets affected. But I think my peak is that because of that, I really started to take time to go like explore. I really was just like, okay, the only person, it's like hard, but it's a realization that I have to remember is like the only person who's there for me is me. So what am I going to do? And that's like, we've talked about it before, but having my dogs is such a blessing. And so because I was working so much and I didn't want to be at home the time that I was at home, I was like, you know what, let me go do stuff. So I went on like all trails on the app and just found like little hikes that were doable around where I was. And I wasn't very familiar with the Bay Area until I started doing that and finding like hikes and then even sometimes like I would go on the hike and then reward myself with like going and eating somewhere that I've never eaten before, like a lunch or a brunch or something like that. That way I'm still focusing on me but taking the dogs out. And I was looking back at some of the pictures and it was just like, I don't know, I just remember just walking and being at peace and just dealing with everything. I think it was needed. That was definitely my peak.
I loved seeing your Instagram stories of your hikes. Like it just looks so pretty in the little like why did I just want to say prairie?
I know what you mean. It is very like shirey with like then the Golden Gate like in the background. It's because this weekend all Lord of the Rings. That was so weird, my choice of movies. But I watched all of the Lord of the Rings movies last weekend. So now
Shire is a good one.
Yeah.
That's good. I also saw you in March. I realized when I was at the Peach Pit concert is when I saw you.
Yeah. That was the
and
night.
That was when we were brainstorming for the podcast.
That was our first meeting.
Yeah.
We were trying to come up with names. Our names included like fish out of water. What else?
We were trying to play off
banter
of
or yeah.
We've come a long way.
Yeah. I'd say so. Anyway,
April. My birthday month and the worst month of the year for me. But luckily my birthday is at the beginning of the month, so started off strong. Germany, it was so crazy. I met up and actually stayed with a friend that I had met when I was in Colombia. Awesome. So it was so cool to just like see her in her hometown and like stay at her house and meet her mom and her siblings and get like a tour that I feel like I wouldn't have gotten of Germany without being like with someone that lived there.
Yeah.
And the night of my birthday, we were out in Hamburg and just partying in Germany. In German.
You were with the
It
Germans.
was with the Germans. It was so fun. I feel like getting ready is usually more fun than going out sometimes, but I had a lot of fun getting ready. And the next morning I was very hungover, but I woke up and she had this is Luca, shout out Luca, you're amazing. Her roommate, she had her roommate make me a cake and then like showed up and surprised me with that. And this book, this childhood book that she had talked about that I'm really frustrated that I can't remember the name. It was like something about I don't know. It's some book that like her sister and her mom have a tattoo from it and it's just like a really sentimental book and I was saying how I wanted to read it and she got me the English version.
I love
It
that.
was just like so thoughtful and I was like, "Wow." Because my boyfriend didn't. I had to basically like say, "Hey, it's my birthday." But that's okay. Which leads me, I started with my peak.
I think that was needed.
Okay, well, my valley was at the latter half of the month, which was when I started getting basically ghosted by the person I'd been dating for 3 years, and then dumped when I returned from Europe. So, don't I think we're gonna do a breakup episode and talk about all of that, but it was just like a lot and like having spent 6 weeks traveling and just my personality feeling like I was like hosting the person I was traveling with and like catering to their needs and then really like worried about the person I was dating and so much going on with work. It was just like a recipe for disaster. So that was kind of a lot. But looking back, if all of that stuff hadn't come to a head when it did, like so much of what we'll talk about in the next few months is like
Would have never I
happened.
know. I think about that all the time. Just like
So
with my own personal stuff. I mean, even with you,
yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah. How was your April?
We're done with that. I think, yeah. My April, I honestly, it all like blends together. I think a two peaks
Ooh,
are,
double. Wait, are you starting with the peaks too?
yeah, because
Okay.
like my valley is kind of the same. I think like my valley is that like I didn't really want to be, it was just, it kind of just morphs into everything. Like a lot was going on.
Yeah.
I feel like I was very secure, like in my job. And we'll talk about this in the later months too. But I do want to say, like, during this time, I was very secure, like in my job. And because like I had no responsibilities. I was like not paying any single like bill. I was totally chilling. So I was like making not all this money, but I was making like money
Mm-hmm.
and like focusing on myself, like going out to the gym all the time, and the gym being like my freaking aunt's garage because she like zhuzhed it up and like focused on that. But I felt like everything else was kind of like falling apart, like the
Mm-hmm.
social life and all of that stuff. And we'll talk about that in the next few months. But that's kind of like like the low during that
Mm-hmm.
time. But the peak is that um I got my new car during this time.
The Jeep.
Yeah, I got the Jeep. The truck was just I love my truck. Stacy was just amazing. And
Wait,
she was the
why is
OG.
it Stacy?
That song from whatever Fountains of Youth.
Stacy's mom is gonna go in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm Stacy's mom. And I've got it going on.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
That's cute.
God, how old was I? Probably around 16 when I said that. Oh my God. Anyway, I got my car, which I think was just like, even now, like I do want to pat myself on the back. I don't do it enough, but like I got it. Like I was just like, I need a car. I have the money. I'm just gonna get it, and I did it. And like it was, yeah. I mean, it's a cool car. I'm glad I did it. Whatever, got me, gets me places, got me here. And then
It's
just
nice
like
to have.
yeah,
Like we talked about this a few
your
episodes ago.
cars.
I can't fit things in there, so it's nice to have yours for the surfboards,
Yeah.
for larger items, for the dogs.
Yeah.
It's a good vehicle.
Yeah. And then that leads into, like I said before, in March, I was doing a lot of trips in the city, but this just like allowed me to drive back home a lot. So that's just kind of a time. I feel like during this time, like these next few months, was really family focused,
Mm-hmm.
which is,
That's good.
yeah, really
Needed.
good.
All right, May, we're trucking
May.
along.
Yeah.
My May, I got off social media for the whole month because I was in a spiral and I was like, that's just not gonna help. But even though that was like a valley, I think, because I felt like very just like alone, it was also really good because I actually had to have like meaningful conversations and like relationships with people.
Mhm.
So I think May was like my month of friendship. Like just getting out of my relationship and trying to like basically just do the basic needs for myself, like going on walks with friends. I got a new bike. I know you don't like bikers, but I got a second one. We have two bikes in the house now. You came down for
Mhm.
Memorial Day. I feel like I just realized the amazing support system that I had all along that I felt like I didn't utilize or I didn't take advantage of when I was feeling this way earlier. But when it was like, this is the last resort, I wrote down, you know how my notes sometimes don't make any sense, but I wrote down gem and I was like, why did I write down gem? I remembered that the office manager, my coworker at my previous company, like knew what I was going through and she was at like a crystal shop or something and
Mhm.
like bought me a little like crystal that was like for protection and like strength or what I had a little card and it was just like that was so sweet.
I love
Just
that.
like little things that people did and like I think that was a really good peak in a really low point of my life.
Yeah. And those little things, like, they seem so little, but just, like, make such a big impact.
Mhm.
It's the things you remember, man.
Yeah.
May, again, same thing with the valley. It kind of just, like, all morphs together. But it was kind of the start of, like, okay, I need a change. Like, if
Mhm.
I am, like, saying all of these things, like, and making all these goals for myself, like, something has to change.
Mhm.
So I was like looking at trying to find like my own place. I was looking at other jobs. I was looking at this and this and this, like all these little things. And then I remember calling you, I think it was probably the end of April, and just being like, hey, can I come see you? Or like, hey, like, what are you doing for this 3-day weekend or whatever?
Mhm.
And it was just like kind of all worked out. And I ended up flying down. And I think that just like sparked another thing because it wasn't like a vacation. Like you
Yeah.
actually lived here. It wasn't like Portland where we were both like getting away. Like it was a fun little weekend, but it was also so beneficial for me to see someone who I look up to so much, but is also like so closely like close to me,
Mhm.
to like see your way of living and being like, this is a totally achievable if I just make like decisions and choices in order to achieve that. And so it just like sparked something in me. And so that itself weekend was just like so much fun and was such a great ending to what was going on in the past months and a great start to this
To June.
crazy summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. June was
I
June was the start of this amazing summer,
It was
interesting
such a good
summer.
summer. Honestly, that weekend,
It what
we
literally
were
picked
wild and out.
honestly the decisions
The
that were made,
decisions that were made were very poor, but
but it was
they're
fun.
great stories.
There is a picture of me at the fig tree
Uh-huh. In
in
PB.
PB after the evening. I think it was like at 11 in the morning eating brunch, and I'm just like I can't even like I'm just my head. I'm just like this. I
Your
can't even
head's in your
focus.
hands. You're like, I just need coffee.
And I'm
I-
like trying to drink the coffee and I'm like can't even get it down. Oh my gosh. I think I
Yeah.
napped that day.
Yeah. It
But
was
we did
good.
so
We did
much.
so much. And yeah, then that leads into June, which I said so you called me or texted me like that next week and you're like, I think I'm gonna move
No,
down.
I'm pretty sure it was the day I flew home.
Yeah, but that was like I guess like the
Oh
first
yeah,
day in
June. Oh
June.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it
Like the
ended.
second or the first day in June, which was like a Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening.
Because we were joking about it. We were like, oh, we're gonna move here. And then I was
Yeah.
like, hey, you really serious? Because I'm kind of serious. You're like,
No,
no, let's do
yeah.
it.
I like wanted you to, obviously. I'm so glad that you're here, but I was like, I don't know if she'll do it. And then you literally did like the next day. And I was like, oh my gosh, yay.
I feel like I do this though, but it was needed.
No, it was so good. I put my valley for June was apartment hunting. I think because it's not that I was like, this is so miserable. It was just like, I wanted us to find something. Because you like put in your notice at work, and I was like, I don't.
Yeah, I don't really think things through. It seems to be a theme in my life where I just am like,
I think it's
I just
working out
jump.
for you.
I'm just like, well, we'll see what I land in. I'll go from there.
I think that's good because then you can't like overthink.
Oh, that ends up happening too. It's like
You
a
do
big
both.
stew of everything. Anyway,
Apartment hunting.
Yeah.
Looking on Zillow every evening. Saving a house, and then the next morning it's somehow gone.
Yeah.
It was just
and like
a
not
lot.
hearing back.
Yeah, the lack of response. It's like job hunting. Like, just tell me.
But we just learn so much, like areas, especially for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how helpful it was for you, but just moving into a new city to like actually learn the different areas was really helpful, even though it was like such a shitty time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like you learn so much about like the housing in this area too. Like
Yeah.
where's good, where's bad, what's expensive, what's cheap, what things to look for. Like I didn't even think about washer and dryer until like last minute when they said they have one, and I was like, oh yeah, duh, that's an important thing to know.
Yeah, I think I thought about it because I was like, I'm currently paying for this, and this is stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was my valley in June. But I think the peak was, what?
Your notes.
My notes. Also, my hair is sticking to the mic. What was my note the other day? It was like
phone tip. And it was our note for our social media, and she meant microphone tipping. And I was like, what is a phone tip? This sounds so weird.
Yeah. Well, I literally thought I wrote Harvard, but I wrote haircut. And that was my peak in June. I got a haircut. What? Why did I put that?
Because it was beautiful. It is beautiful. I love your
I
hair.
got some highlights. I did not want this, but the girl was like, "You should get this," so I did, and it's grown on me.
People pleasing aspect.
People pleasing. Went to Vegas on a whim. Saw Tosh Sultana in June, which was really cool. That is like hands down my favorite artist to see live. I've seen her twice now, and it's amazing. They're just, damn it.
It's okay, you're correcting yourself.
They're just an incredible artist. And Tahoe with the family happened in June, and that was really good because I had just spent the month of May being in solitude. Obviously, I was talking about friendships, but like it was good to just be around family and kind of heal with them as well. So, what about you? How was your June?
My June was good. My June was totally filled with family activity. Like, it was just all around. Isabella graduated high school, and so that always brings people. I love graduations, and I love when everybody gets together because it just pulls everybody together. And even though my family is crazy and half of them don't get along, it's just like nice to have a reason for everybody just to like shut the fuck up and celebrate someone for doing something so great. And so it's nice to celebrate her. It was Gabriella's birthday, so we what did we do? Oh my god, we went to Wild Island in June.
Oh my
June
gosh,
3rd.
Wild Island.
Yeah, and it was freezing. The kid was so cold. She was like sliding down the slide like yay, like she was so, but it was a lot of fun. And
oh my gosh.
The wine. Yeah, so that, and then that was the month I went to Hawaii. So I went to Hawaii for the first time.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. I think like, I don't know, I have always like struggled with the idea of going to Hawaii like for vacation and vacationing. And so that was kind of like my first thought. And then part of me also was like the other half of me.
Elaborate on why?
It's just, I think, stolen land, and I don't think people should visit it. And I went to school with a lot of like native Hawaiians who kind of shine a light, shine. I don't know what the word is.
Shone
Whatever.
a light?
Shine a light, shine a
Shed a
light,
light?
whatever. Shed a light. Fucking Jesus H Christ on the importance and the knowledge around it that I just think um is not included in a lot of people's like history and mind because it's been so like wiped out. And so it is something that is just like weird for me to do. Like there's so many other places in the world to go visit. Like is it,
Mhm.
whatever. Anyway, so but I went and it was important to my mom and at the like, I want to improve a relationship with my mom. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to do that, family trip with her since I do basically all of my family trips have been through my dad's side. So it was nice to do something with my mom and my sisters and Ryan and John. It was just really great just to have fun and go and experience that. It was just, yeah, but it was a peak for me.
Mhm.
Um, and just enjoying time with family. I think the valley is just realizing you can only like change yourself, you can't change other people.
Mhm.
And so as much as I was like so frustrated with like everything that was going on this like beginning of the year, it was just like more and more of like I can only focus, I'm the only one that I'm going to have. Like I need to
Mhm.
focus on me, stop getting so worried about everybody else. Um but overall really great month. Just like having the decision already laid out that I was moving was just so great
Mhm.
and pulled me through everything else. I will have to say though, another valley for that month was like saying goodbye to
Mm.
Castro Valley. As much as like there's so much that came with it and so much that happened, like it is sad. Like I lived there, I was like with family, it was really close, Gabriella on East, like it was hard to say goodbye. And then on top of it, like where I was working, it was my first time like working with kids since being back um in the country, and I built like such a close relationship with some of the kids. So like having
Mhm.
them say goodbye was like such a valley. It's like such a
That's so
sad story,
hard.
but like the last day, like I got in my car to leave and they were like transitioning from like one room to another room, like a lot of like the older kids, which was like some of the ones that I were close with. And it was right when I was like reversing. So like I saw them in my rearview mirror, but I was like already moving the car. So I was like, well, I can't just stop until they're all gone. Like I have to like continue.
Mhm.
So I just like decided to roll down my window and all I heard is, oh my gosh, I better not freaking cry. It's the wine. But it was like 1, 2, 3, and they're like, goodbye, Miss Ellie. And I was like, oh my God, stop.
Aw.
Stop it. And then I drove away. Um, yeah. So that was like hard. It's always hard to like say goodbye to kids. But
But I feel
yeah.
like hopefully like really
Yep, words.
rewarding too of like the impact that you made and the legacy, quote unquote, that you're kind of leaving behind for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
even if it was a small moment in their life.
Yeah, it was a good way to look at it. Yeah, so June was good. June was just a good like kickoff. Um,
For you moving
I
into
know.
life.
Also, like, I don't know, I was kind of a hoe in June too.
Really?
Yeah. I've never just like yeah, I mean, I guess like by myself on a family trip, I have never reached like gone out and met up with someone and like had a hookup and I did. And my whole family was aware of it. I like
Mhm.
literally left the Airbnb at like 10. I was like, I'm going out. They're like, what? You don't know anybody here. I was like, well, I do now. And
I
that was just
love
the
that.
start. It
That's
was just
so
that like
fun.
it was a great start of like a confident summer,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is what I needed.
Let's talk about July then.
Yeah, let's move right into it.
I'm just gonna really quickly go over my valley, which was leaving my job, which is like it was a peak, but it was also a valley because it was like that was literally the last 3 years of my life in a way that's not just like a 9 to 5. It was like a 24/7
Mhm.
of my life. And as bittersweet as it was, like similar to you, managing people, working with kids, like not that they were children. I'm just saying, like, that came out really wrong. I'm comparing you leaving your kids saying goodbye to me, like managing
Leaving
people
the people that you enjoyed working with.
that
It wasn't them.
yeah, like I felt like I had hopefully like made an impact on them. They had
Hmm.
definitely made an impact on me, and I loved working with them. And it was just like this was a change that needed to happen,
Yeah.
and so that was really bittersweet. But We got 4th of July in Tahoe with the family where there's a drone show. I'm hanging with McKenna and CJ and my mom in the park. We're having a great time. It was so fun. You came down again before we actually locked in our apartment. You came down twice in that month. But
Mhm.
like, I feel like the first time you came down in the middle or in the beginning of the month, we were like surfing.
Mhm.
It felt like we were like, it was the
Like
preview to
mhm.
us living together, which
Yes.
was so fun. And
Yeah.
like, I loved it. Girls trip to Tahoe with some of my friends, and that was so fun to just like show them around and
Oh, yeah, I met
be
you there. Well, I
yeah,
saw you there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you did. And so that I had a blast with that, and like my dad was out of town, so we just had the whole house to ourselves, which was a massive house. And that was fun. They like went to the casino at 10 in the morning, and I was like, this is
Welcome to
great.
Nevada. Oh my
And
gosh.
then aside from you moving, which is obviously huge, my going away party that I don't remember a lot of. But it was a lot of fun and the pictures are great. And it seemed
You seem to
like,
have really enjoyed yourself.
yeah, it was like all the people that I like loved to work with and just like had so much fun with all together in one area. And I had a blast and I love dancing. And that was really like I keep saying the catalyst. Everything's the catalyst, but like that was like, I'm free.
Mhm.
We had been going out. Everything was like a catalyst building up to this like burst
Yeah.
of it's
Freedom. Yeah.
happening.
And it did.
And it
It did
did.
it.
How was your July?
My July was good. I feel like my valley was just realizing like I have to let go of old comforts
Mm-hmm.
and like it was almost like breaking free of the nest again. Like I didn't necessarily live with my parents, but I lived with parents
Mm-hmm.
and that's always like it's hard to deal with when you're living there, but then it's also hard to deal with when you leave because then you're like, "Oh fuck." Like
Yeah.
that sucks. And then just like, I don't know, even though like I wanted to leave, it still makes it hard to deal with that. So just dealing with that, but also I basically spent an entire summer hanging out with like my dad and helping him move his
Mm-hmm.
house. Got a new house and just hanging out with like the girls, like my sisters before making a move and then just driving here was just great. Like that was such a peak is just like in general feeling like I was making big moves and
Mm-hmm.
like fully my decision. No boy was influencing my decision. No like anything else. It was just like fully because I felt like I wanted to do that. And so that I think was huge for me because it was just I actually like got in the car and did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yay.
And
Okay.
then I'm here and we're flipping to August.
To
To
August.
August.
The Valleys of August was, as much as I love this apartment, moving out of PB. I was like, I wanted to move out of my apartment. It was not, I needed more space. I wanted to have a washer and dryer in my unit. I wanted to have AC. I wanted to have you. But the proximity to the beach.
Sorry, I
Wake
had
up!
to. I
Listen to my
know.
valleys. Um, and then also like the bittersweet part of some of the memories that were made in August because some of these were planned like way farther in advance and I thought they would have been with different people or like it would have looked different, but they were great memories, which included my sister McKenna coming to San Diego, which was so fun. Her and her friend did like her friend just graduated high school and they did a senior year like trip together and it was you were in town at that
Mhm.
time, so it was so fun to like have her best friend and my best friend. Leon Bridges, another concert. I went back to an offsite that my old team at my previous company was having, and it was just fun to like be a part of that. They like invited me to do that because I had already kind of been planning it when I was there. But to be only be involved in the fun part of it, like going on the boat with all of them, I love that. Seeing the weekend in Vegas, 2 concerts in 1 month. And then Portland
Oh,
for the
yeah.
wedding,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was so fun.
It was so much fun.
a lot of a lot of drinking again. We
Mhm.
literally started at a champagne what was that even
I
called?
don't even
Like it was
know.
just like a champagne store where you just like drink mimosas.
All day. And then we ended up taking the entire bottle
Taking the
back
bottle.
and anyway. August Valley, as much as I like going out and like putting myself out there, it was just like so annoying to deal with all of these men this summer. And like August was like such a month of like, what the fuck am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like really like I got through August and then was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, get me off. What did I say last episode? What if I keep saying? Oh, I met them online. I just deleted all of my dating apps and meet you online. What did I say? eHarmony or whatever the fuck it is.
She wasn't on eHarmony.
So I think that was like a valley and it's like again like growing, but in the moment it was like causing so much frustration because I was confused and like wanting this to happen, but at the same time not getting what I
Hookups
actually
are
needed.
hard.
What's that?
I was just saying like hookups are hard.
Oh yeah,
It's
and
like they're
just
fun, but it's also like this is just not like none of it is what you want.
yeah.
The person doesn't know you. You don't know them. You're not comfortable. It's like,
But then I'm also like I don't want to know you either.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. I feel like someone that's like worth dating. It takes a minute.
mhm.
I don't know, whatever. It was fun. It was just like in the moment, I remember just feeling so like, ugh, what is happening?
Yeah.
But I think like a big peak for me was getting to know San Diego.
Yeah. It's your first full month.
Yeah, like moving in, setting up, getting all the house in order, putting all the pictures up, getting everything in was just like a real like settling. I felt like that was the month where like you see all the pieces like slowly come together and like settle.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were able to just kind of be like, "Ah, okay, we're here. And what does it look like?
Yeah.
Like live here.
Yeah.
Explore like our own. This is a new area for you too. So we were just taking time to see this little area.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it.
It
It was a good month.
August was good. September, I will say, is my favorite time in San Diego because it's like not boiling hot. All the tourists are gone. The water has been warmed up all summer, so like you can still surf without a wetsuit on. I want to say that I am not. We talk about surfing quite a lot, but
We're not. It's nothing like yeah.
I just love being in the ocean, and it was just like so fun to be out there. I did put surfing as like a peak for September. So I think I'm going to say my peaks before my valleys and it will make more sense.
Yes.
So September. So September. Housewarming. Loved having people over to our house and just like filling it with laughter and lots of wine and a makeshift charcuterie and taking lots of Polaroids that now live. I look at them anytime I sit on the
like bar
area, which is fun to see. Julia came to town, which was really fun because it was just on a whim. She was like, I have a 4-day weekend. Julia's my sister. And she came and it was like, I feel like her and I don't have a ton of one-on-one time together. So it was good to spend time with her and hear what she's been up to. My friend Darby came to town in that month. I went to my first like Wave FC soccer game.
That was that month.
Female soccer team here, women's soccer team. And then a bunch of friends have their birthdays in September. So our friend Bill hosted like literally a concert in his backyard. And that was really fun. But my valley is blacking out and not remembering half of the evening.
I thought you were gonna say half the month.
This was the second time this year that I've blacked out, and I've never blacked out in my life. So in July and then again in September, I was like, come on. And I hate that feeling of like not knowing what you did. Like literally having to ask people of like, what was I doing last night? That is a low for me. I like to know what I actually said and did. And I think also just the like setting up the house piece. I know you have to like piece it together and it comes, but I also was just like packing and unpacking is not fun.
Yeah. I've done it so much. It's like a ritual now.
Yeah, you have you're so good about like keeping things, like getting rid of things and like keeping things compact.
I'm ready to move at a moment's notice.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, September was it was kind of a hard it's this fall has been hard as like kind of going back to what I was saying before just about like feeling at the beginning of the year lost because like I had anchored myself in so many things within myself, like wanting to work out because I had nothing better to do and finding myself like in my job. So like really throwing myself in there, which is like itself didn't lead to like really good things, but I found myself very centered in those things, but not centered in other things. So like I wanted to feel like I want to have a home. I want to feel like I have my shit together. So then I made these big changes. And I think like even though like it's just repercussions of my own actions because I just make these big leaps without not that I didn't put thought into it. It's just realizing like what's going to come with that, and what came with it is like all these other changes. So now I'm starting to feel like, oh, okay, I have my home, but now I'm like not wanting to leave, and I'm feeling like not very secure in like my job, and so having all of these things, having it like switched has been like a lot of feelings and emotions these past few months. And I think September is when it started, because then I started to realize like, oh, my summer's over. Like I have to start getting like my savings is over. I got to start doing this stuff. So I think that was like the realization. And then as far as like a peak, it's just like dealing with being a grown up. Like as much as like it is hard and I was feeling lost, like I felt like a kind of again with what I was saying with the Bay Area is just like I just left. Like I just went and did hikes and walks and stuff. I feel very similar here as doing that, like going to the different dog beaches and doing things that like don't take up a lot of time or effort or energy or money that I was able to explore. And also enjoy. I do agree, like September in San Diego is beautiful. And like we surf so much that month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like not even that we're good, but just the fact that we took time to kind of like be in the ocean, something that's like so calming, I think is what I needed. So that was kind of my peak.
October. We're almost there. It's almost the end of the year. I think we already talked about this. The literal only thing I could think of for October was expectations around Halloween and just being utterly disappointed.
Yeah. What a night.
What a night. I was like, I don't want to be wearing biker shorts and a Santa hat and boots right now. And I am, and I'm not having a good time. I mean, it was fun, but it was like expectations are just I feel like for a lot of holidays, especially New Year's too. We can talk about that later, but like people think it's going to be like this revolution for the holiday.
Your whole thing. Yeah. It's like going to change your life.
It's just another night.
Yeah.
It's a fun night, but like why do you think it's going to be different? I don't know. Maybe that's a very cynical outlook. But the peak was I put the sunsets and the podcast. We released our first episode in October. And that was just
definitely a peak for me.
It was like we had been talking about it literally since earlier this year when we met in March, when we had our first meeting, when we talked about it in February. Like this has been a conversation going on for so long, and then to finally like see us on Spotify, it
was crazy.
I was like, oh,
and like we're actually doing it. Like we're doing it.
It's all cool. And we went swimming that month for the first time. That was just the last little like cherry on top of like we started this podcast, and then we went and did the thing that like brought us together in the first place. It was beautiful.
Yeah. October for me was kind of like my as far as like the year, I feel like I'm trying to like picture the diagram that we made in the office of like all these mountains, like where I'm at on the peak. And I feel like at the beginning of the year, like January and February, like I was looking up, like I had some stuff come up, and then like February was definitely like a peak. And then from there, it kind of like went down, and like March kind of sucked, but then like June, July were great, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, like started kind of going down, even though I moved here, just like me and my own thoughts and feelings. That's where I was at. October was like the lowest of the low. I feel like I was just like not understanding why I wasn't getting what I wanted, and like very confused and feeling all of these things, and then being frustrated that I was feeling so down because I was like, look at all these things that I just did. Like, why
Mhm.
can't I just be happy? And so like dealing with that, but then also again on like the positive like turn on it is this is where change happens. So like I got a job,
Mhm.
another job, like the one that was like a little bit more substantial, and just nailing it down and trying to figure out a schedule and realizing like what it is has to like what it is I have to do in order to get to where I want to be.
Mhm.
And so like that's always hard to like have those own realizations because when you're younger it's your parents telling you and you can easily put the blame on them to be like, "Oh, blah, 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 it's your fault," or like, "You're being so mean to me." But now I'm like an adult and have to make or have those conversations to myself
Mhm.
and be the one to actually make those decisions. And it's just hard. And so it was the valley was it being in the valley, and the peak is just realizing, well, it can only go up from here. And I feel like that kind of like is true.
Yeah.
And so that's the month that, I realize like what it is I want to put my time and energy in. And that's like one, finding a job that I feel like I want to be doing, which I did. And then also finding creative outlets like this podcast
Mhm.
and realizing like other things, which I'm still like working on. But the fact that we just did this is so much fun
I know.
and a way to like center myself. Like it's not like even my dad was like, when I was talking to him about, oh, like I'm finishing up work, I'm going to take the dogs on a walk, and then I'm actually going to work on some podcast stuff. And he's like, how can you go home from work to do more work? And I'm like, you don't get it. Like it's not, I don't view it like that.
Yeah. It's fun.
And also like we're just recording a conversation that we would be having anyway. Like this is like, even sometimes we'll come home and she'll be like, or each of us will be like, how was your day? And we're like, save it for the podcast because it's just us talking, and that's so
Yeah.
therapeutic. And to be able to have other people join in, like we're funny. So I want to,
Yeah.
include it. That's the whole
Yeah.
point. So I think that anyway, what I'm trying to say is a lot happened on October in my own mind. And so
Mhm.
that's where it is on my diagram.
That makes sense.
Into
Into
November,
November,
here
the
we
month that
are.
we're closing out this
Yeah.
episode with, I would say peak. I'm gonna start with my peaks.
Yeah.
Peaks were hot girl walks, which I know you cringe at that. But I feel like even a few weekends ago in the beginning of November, I just went on a walk with a couple friends and we like went down to the tide pools, and it was just like nothing crazy, but a reminder of like I'm so happy that I live here, and just like getting outside and seeing the ocean and being in fresh air. And then Friendsgiving in Boise, which we talked about, book club starting, which it's the first meeting that we've had, but like that's so fun because it's like reigniting like a purpose for stuff that I'm reading of
Mhm.
like we're going to talk about it and there's other people reading it, and I just I love reading, but I feel like sometimes it's hard to motivate myself to do that. Um and I'm sure Thanksgiving's going to be awesome. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet when we're recording this. Going to Mexico, I think will be a ton of fun with friends. My valley for this month, I've been having a bit of like this pressure to do more. And I think it's coming from like the year coming to an end and thinking like even doing this, it was like, wow, I did so many things and like this was so awesome. But right now I'm feeling this almost like existential crisis of
Mhm.
like my personality, I'm very much like, I think maybe a few months ahead. Not that I don't plan and like I'm not like smart. I am smart with like money and things like that, but I also am like, if I died tomorrow, I want to have a good time today.
Mhm.
Or like, I'll plan for like generally in 5 years, I would love to own a house and have a partner and blah, blah, blah. But like, if the path that I take to get there isn't this like straight path that I had in my mind, that's fine.
Mhm.
And we'll take it and we'll roll with the punches. But I've been feeling this like crisis of like, next year I'm going to be 27. And like, when I was 16, this isn't what I thought I'd be doing at 26. It's not bad, it's not good. I think I'm very happy with the person that I'm becoming and what I'm doing with my life, but it's also like, okay, 10 years from now, what am I going to be doing?
Mhm.
Am I doing the things now that are going to set me up for what I want to be doing in 10 years? So just kind of like that feeling, especially around resolutions. But I don't think it's well, it feels like a valley because I'm kind of like trying to quickly dig myself out of that thinking process. I think it's also a like good reminder of like, yes, it's good to plan, but it's also like slowing down and looking at like all you've done and like just being so happy of and remembering, like you even said, all these things that we've talked about to get you to where you are today. And yeah, you want to be better and yeah, you want to do more, but like look at all you've already done
I know.
to get to where you are now.
So hard to remember that though.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to remember that during this time of the year. At least for me. Again, like you were saying, that like added pressure, maybe that's where it comes from, but like it's really hard to see it. I mean, I think that's what's so good about this episode is us writing it down, because if I like just think about the year, I'm kind of like, what did I even do? But then if
Yeah.
I'm like forced to write it down or think about it, I'm like, oh, actually, like I did quite a bit.
So much.
I was about to say December. I'm like already over November. But yeah, November, I think the valley for me is just, it's that time of the year. It's just, I know my body is catching up. Like I'm feeling how do I put this? Because of like all of the work my mind has been doing, I feel like I've not reached, I'm not burnt out. I don't even know what the word is. Ready for a break, I guess. I don't know what I'm
You
trying to
just need to
say.
rest. I feel like summer we went so hard. And you like changed so much about your life. Like you explaining everything that you've been through to get to where you are now. It's like we just need to like rest for a second.
I know. And like, I just want to like rebuild. And I'm getting frustrated that the rebuilding process is taking so long and I'm hitting so many hurdles that it's just feeling like I'm very just frustrated with it and frustrated with myself. And then the added feeling of like, oh, it's this time of the year. There's so much like pressure because of like finances, trying to find ways home. Going home in itself can be sometimes like, I'm very looking forward to it, but as everybody who, not everybody, but I'm sure a lot of people can resonate, like sometimes it's a lot to go home and deal with vacations. Like it's just a lot. And just in general, family, just shit this time of year is always like kind of hard to go through. But it's also, so it's just like all of that combined. But I think the peak too is like, I feel more secure. Like I'm finding like my scheduling and like all that stuff. I kind of talked about this a little bit before. Is just like you feel so much better when you have a little bit of a routine. Like before it was just like no routine really. And now I have a little bit of a routine, which is really nice. And then even though I just like dogged on holidays and family and vacations and stuff like that, I really do feel like the peak, like we said, we're recording this a little beforehand, but I really do feel like the peak is going to be going home because even though, yeah, you have that added stress and this time of the year is always hard and brings a lot of emotions up. Like I am a family person and being around my family kind of helps me recenter. So I think that's going to make me like, maybe I'm just adding pressure. I don't know. Tune in next week so I can tell you about how it happened. But but I just feel like I'm gonna recenter myself, and that's really gonna start like rebooting. Rebooting. Oh my god. Anyway,
we need to go to bed.
I know. Rebooting into this idea of like, instead of having this resolution, I just kind of want to hit the new year as just like a fresh flower, like see what it brings. And I feel like this is kind of like me. This is a weird ass visual that just came to my mind, but like being a little seed in the dirt. And
you love flowers.
I know. I do love flowers.
Don't
I do.
get frustrated. I love it.
But like being a little seed in the dirt and like I feel like I can't see, I'm like dark, blah blah blah, but I am growing and I'm starting to see the light and it's gonna come out.
That's beautiful.
And I just have to like keep watering myself and dealing with it. And I think the thing that I need right now is to go home for a little bit, and that's what I'm doing. So I think that's gonna be my peak. But I also just like feel very, I don't know, there's something about November too that makes me feel so grateful. And I know we were talking about this before in the other episode, but I just like taking every moment to, even in the dark times, be as grateful for the things that I am aware of. And the thing that I've been so aware of is like having like meaningful connections and like relationships with people. And it's just like so beautiful. Like I feel very grateful that I get to come home and have someone to talk to about my day who actually, who cares, and having the people like reach out. And like, even though I've moved, like I still talk to all of the family that I talked to before because we're making time to call, and I feel very connected in that way. And so even though I've been feeling like in the dark or whatever, the seed in the dark, I've never felt alone. And so taking that moment just to say, like, I am very grateful, because I feel like I've just said a lot of like dark things, but
No, that was a beautiful analogy.
yeah,
It's a
that's
year of
November.
growth. Yeah, November is a month of growth. I feel like this year I think it's just so important to reflect.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that we did.
In a
And
healthy, fun way. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
thinking about the good and the bad and the good.
It's been a great year. I'm looking forward to the next year. I'm looking forward I'll take back that statement, and I'll say I'm looking forward to December.
Yeah,
Just to take it
to
month
close
by
it
month.
out.
But we want to hear what your guys' highs or peaks and valleys
and
were
valleys.
for the year 2022, and what like your best was, what your worst was, your fun stories, all that stuff from this year. Let us know. Don't forget to follow us,
Like,
subscribe. Wow, words again. I can't talk when it comes to the end of these things. Seems to be a theme. Yeah, let us know. Yay.
Yay! Happy November!
Yay! One more month.
Bye!
Bye.